what is important, just like any other sibling pair, I think that the idea is to have them to start sharing in the things that they do for each other. So the biggest thing, the first thing with any other good relationship, with any other relationship, is communication. So communicating to the sort of typically developing sibling child, the needs of the child of the Down syndrome, explaining to them what it is, explaining what works and what are the strengths and what can they do well and what they can't necessarily and may need help with, so that they have a basic understanding, and then sort of engaging them with everything that the child with Down syndrome is doing becomes the basis of everything that they do. The more the child feels that he or she is part of their sibling's life, whether it's hospital visits or doctor visits or just fun things that they do together, the more that bond is going to be stronger between the two siblings. So again, I think burden comes from giving a child chores and responsibilities and expectations that are beyond their age and beyond their understanding. So if you're going to keep it to an age-appropriate level, then they will not feel burdened. And if it's not all about just chores and responsibilities, but also fun things that they do together, and engaging them in we're going to play cricket every day, we're going to play a board game, we're going to have game nights, we're going to have like study nights, movie nights, and then also it'll be nice if you could help with this particular thing because I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed with this. Then the whole picture sort of fits into place. But if it's just about, okay, I'm so overburdened and so overwhelmed with all of the other needs of this child that I need you to pick up the slack for me, then the child, definitely the older sibling or the younger sibling, but the typically developing sibling, starts to feel burdened. Okay, so what is the right time to say when is your sort of child that you have a sibling with Down syndrome? As soon as possible. Okay, so the principle is exactly what we follow when we have to tell a child, for example, that they're adopted. Okay, or we have to tell a child that the parents are getting divorced. Any sort of anything that you need to tell a child that is going to be a significant piece of news that is important in that family's life needs to be communicated to them as soon as possible. Now, as soon as possible doesn't mean कि आपने 2 साल के बच्चे को बिठा के जो है वो पूरा एक लेक्चर दिया कि आपके बहन या भाई को डाउन सिंड्रोम है और उसमें ये होता है, बिकॉज उनको समझ नहीं आएगा. But age appropriate, again, start giving small information, small pieces of information that they can understand. So a 2-year-old may need to understand that, for example, perhaps if the child with Down syndrome doesn't have much speech, so, and they were wondering, I am saying, these putting 2 and 2 words together, why is my older sibling not doing it or younger sibling not doing it? Explain to them that, there are differences and they have a hard time with this. And then when, as they grow older, they start understanding other areas, school जा रहे हैं, नहीं जा रहे, किस तरह खेल रहे हैं, क्या उनके special needs हैं. So age appropriate level पे, I think it's very, very important that you start kind of giving them the information as soon as possible. There are also lots of children books that you can use to kind of read to them, to help them understand. But एंजाइटी बिल्कुल भी ये नहीं होनी चाहिए कि हम बहुत जल्दी उनको नहीं बता रहे कि हमें 9 साल पे बताना है या 10 साल पे बताना है. Sometimes that's just too late. It's important to bring them into your trust and confidence as soon as possible. Right. So, a lot of times that also tends to be the parents' perception. It may or may not happen. Now, if they're feeling that the other child is feeling neglected, then perhaps they are neglecting the other child. So it's important to do a bit of self-reflection, sitting back and sort of thinking that, the typically developing child also has areas where they need the parents to focus in on them. उनके स्कूल के एग्जाम्स हैं, उनके पीटीएम पेरेंट्स टीचर मीटिंग में जाना है, उन्होंने किसी स्पोर्ट्स में दे वांट टू गेट इन्वॉल्व या किसी एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर में, तो उनको वहाँ लेके जाना है. So are you kind of doing sort of the basic things that you would do for any other typically developing child? And if you're not doing that, and for example, if the child wants to talk to a parent, has something really important that they want to tell, and you're really just constantly putting that off because you're saying that the child with Down syndrome kya je hai, je hai, je hai, and not able to take out those 15-20 minutes to just sit down and talk to your typically developing child, then yes, the child would start feeling neglected. So something that I talked about in my talk as well, get your social support system. So if you feel that you are neglecting and you're not paying attention to your typically developing child because you're so overwhelmed with the child with Down syndrome, get help with the child with Down syndrome for a little bit and spend some time. Sometimes, putting things consciously into your schedule, like, once a month I will go out on a date with my typically developing child, just one-on-one. Yeah, once a month, Saturday last Saturday of the month, it's mom and daughter time, and the child with Down syndrome stays home with dad, or vice versa, whichever that might be, is very, very helpful. And it also doesn't overwhelm you because it's in the design of how you do things. So those things would probably be very helpful. So I am thoroughly impressed by KDSP. Every time I come here, I'm just amazed at the new programs that you've started, at the sort of facility that you've been able to put together over here. From and the attention to detail. I think it's very important to me, and the attention to quality. Because one of the things that can happen when you develop programs like this is that there are no sort of very concrete quality measures, right? It's not like surgery कि गलत हो गई तो फौरन पता चल जाएगा कि गलत हो गई है. Not the greatest speech therapist can go on doing speech therapy for years and years, and you may have nothing to show for it. कि ये गलत हो रही है, सही हो रही है. But I constantly see that you all are collaborating with international organizations, looking at how to make this better, to maintain the quality and have outcomes for your own self as well. So you're benchmarking against international standards and best practices, which I think is amazing. So kudos to KDSP. I'm greatly, greatly impressed, and I'm always here whenever you guys need me for anything. All right.